Every edition of Dungeons & Dragons has included dozens of pages devoted to magic items. My name is Graham and we are going to make a full set of magic items. First up, the Potion of Healing. Potion of Healing, here we go. Gotta put out the jars. I got 6 different jars. We're gonna make 6 different potions of healing. We're gonna make 2 from each of 3 different brands. I have an idea for 3 different brands of alchemists that are making these magic items. I went to the dollar store. We got some body wash that was a good red color. It was really the only thing red there. I was not against dyeing some clear liquid, but this was already done pretty good. This already had a pretty good color to it, so we figured that was okay to use. If you recall, we're making 3 permanent or semi-permanent props, and we're making 3 consumable potions. So I'm going to start with the 3 permanent props. The shower gel or body wash is for the permanent props. I have some other liquids for the consumable ones. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill these up to the point where the cork will not force the body wash out of the top. Got my tissue there just in case. You can see here the body wash looked rather pink when it came out originally, but I think once all of the liquid got in there, it took on much more of a crimson color, so that was a bit shocking, but it seemed to work out, so that's good. And one more. I seem to have bought way too much body wash, but that's okay. No problem, only $1 a piece. And we're all set with our 3 semi-permanent props. They do still look kind of pink here, but that's just the light, I think, that's going through them. They look rather red as I look at them now. Alright, we've got 3 different kinds of healing potions. These are going to represent the same shaped bottle of the permanent one, so we're going to try to make them the same color. I got 2 kinds of sparkling water from the dollar store, looking kind of, effervescent and magical and stuff like that. 2 different colors for 2 different flavors. I'm going to give these to my players at the D&D table and may have them drink it. And then I've got this apple Snapple, and that's got a very good color to it. It actually looks almost identical to the body wash, which is could be troubling. Got my towel out to protect the tablecloth. Not that it ended up mattering, but still. We've got the food dye. Out some red. You can see for this big bottle I just dumped some inside, and it ended up being a perfect color right off the bat by accident, so that was fortuitous for us. Little shake, and then you can see here for the stout one I'm putting in a couple of drops, maybe like 12-15 drops worth of red food dye. Now, I didn't show on camera, but I did add a couple drops of food dye to the Snapple just to try and match the color of the body wash. But I think we've done a pretty good job of matching color to color. Here's my material, which I'm going to make the labels with. It's fabric. It's kind of got a canvasy quality to it. Getting out the cutting mat. The next few minutes is me struggling to try and cut this with an X-Acto knife. This fabric, I learned the hard way, is not easy to cut with this X-Acto knife. I got my normal number 1 blade, but then I had to go get my other blades. And there's the fat blade with the fat handle, trying to get some more surface area or something. I cannot get through it. I eventually was able to punch a hole through it and then rip the rest of the way, which is what I ended up doing. But yeah, the X-Acto knife was not a good way to cut this material. There's me trying to make sure it's the right size, which it is, and then I'm going to match that with another piece of material to try and, because I'm going to make 2 identical squat bottles, I need to have 2 semi-identical labels. So there we go. I'm going to break out the calligraphy ink and a brush at this point, but not before I do a test drawing. I want to make sure I know what's going on the label before I actually have to ink it on the material. So I got just some sketching paper out, and I'm sketching the label. I've got 3 ideas for 3 different companies or 3 different alchemists that are making these 3 styles of potion. The hare and turtle. I've got the Flying Pig and Caliborn the Alabaster's Alchemical Supply. So 3 different labels, 3 different brands, so to speak. I wanted to make sure I knew what kind of ink I was going to be applying with each stroke, so I had some tests on the paper. Then I took it to the canvas. Now, I can tell you right now that I did not like the product that I'm producing right here. I ended up not using these, and we'll see that in the future. Here's me attempting to try and measure it to the bottle, but the only one I ended up using of that pile down there at the bottom is the K's. We'll see in the future what else happened there. I'm adding some twine to the top of this bottle for decoration. One of them is going to be twine. So the squat and round bottles are going to be twine. Here was me attempting to add some canvas to the top, kind of like a lid or kind of like a ceiling solution. But then I discovered that I much liked the full label coverage of the long strips as opposed to the small squares. And so I actually took and re-inked some long strips. So you can see here I'm drawing a flying pig. I didn't like the lettering I did on the previous label, so I eschewed words altogether and just doing pictures. So I've got a flying pig on one. You can see them over there on the right. Then I'm going to go through and do the turtle and the hare. And I drew just some very pictographic turtles and hares that will go on those labels. I did end up keeping the K's, though. I did like the way the K's turned out. But the typography with that sort of calligraphy will require some practice. That was difficult, so I gave up on that. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here, I think. Here's me attempting to get some tape on there. I did go and find some super glue, and you can see here I've managed to super glue the labels to the bottles. I did not film that, and that was an accident. But in any case, I've got the labels on there. I do like how the ink did smudge a little bit. I am going to go through and weather these now, or color these. The typical method is to get some coffee or tea and spill it on there, paint it on there, but I'm actually going to make a brown wash with some fluorescent yellow inside. So that's about 15 parts water to 2 parts brown and 1 part yellow, and I'm just going to paint it on here. The water actually picks up some of the ink and drags it around, which I think is more to its credit. It does look splotchy, it does look random, which is really the point. It's really what I was going for. The point at this particular stage of weathering is to not make it look too... we have a tendency to make things look very patterned, and so we wanted to try and make that not the case. Here's me just displaying the bottles and giving some thumbs up. We have 2 Caliborn potions, 1 drinkable, 1 permanent. We have the Flying Pig ones, and then we have the hare and turtle ones, and those are all weathered and browned and ready to go. This one has twine on. I may go through and put some wax coating on one of the other labels, but I haven't decided quite yet. But that's going to be our healing potion, our potion of healing, and our first magic item all set and ready to go. So that's awesome.